My name is Mehrotra. I'm the editor-in-chief for the Journal of American Society of Nephrology and the senior editor-in-chief of the ASN portfolio of journals. We are here today with Dr. Fornoni and Dr. Ellison. I'll have Dr. Fornoni introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Alessia Fornoni from the University of Miami. I'm a deputy editor for basic science for the Journal of American Society of Nephrology, and I pass the ball to David.
Hi, I'm Dave Ellison from Oregon Health and Science University, and a nephrologist and a fundamental scientist. And my charge at the journal is partly about reviews, but especially with a focus on the new series on mechanisms of disease. So I think we'll move ahead and start the discussion now and start out by asking Raj, as the editor-in-chief, what type of basic science is JASN looking for in 2024 and beyond?
You know, JASN traditionally has been and will continue to be the home for the best basic science that is focused on renal physiology, renal kidney development, mechanisms of kidney disease, and its complications. And it'll welcome work that uses a broad range of methods to understand the mechanistic basis of disease. That could include in vitro cell culture stuff. It could be animal studies using organoids. And increasingly, we are getting a mix of studies that are a mix of studies that develop targets, identify targets in humans, and then take that knowledge we gain from human samples and test the mechanistic basis in advancing science. The hope eventually for all science that we pursue is to collectively have a better understanding of kidney diseases so that we can improve the health and well-being of people living with kidney diseases. I acknowledge that I'm not a basic science researcher, yet basic science is a top priority, and I'm fortunate to have partners like Alessia and David. And Alessia, what would you add to what I said in terms of the scope of what we would like to publish?
That was well said, but I would say really I've been so positively impressed by the continuous growth and trajectory toward promoting innovation, mechanistic insights, translational science, basic science with strong translational science potential. And really I've been impressed by the quality, the rigor and reproducibility of the science that I've been seeing. And I think the trajectory is heading in the right direction to welcome more of this type of really significant mechanistic summations that would eventually benefit our population of patients at large.
And David, we, of course, our focus has primarily been original research, and it'll remain so. We are, however, there is a place for synthesizing such data for our readers, and you are overseeing an article type we call Mechanisms of Kidney Diseases. Could you tell our listeners more about that?
Yeah, that was really what most excited me when Raj first approached me, was the ability to work on this new series on mechanisms of disease. I mean, I think there's never been a better time in kidney disease research to do this. And I've really had fun thinking about what types of articles we want for that series. And really my goal is to sort of use this series as a way of showing especially how both discoveries made at the bench eventually get translated into new knowledge about kidney diseases. For example, a recent paper that we had published was talking about claudins as potential mechanisms to lead to kidney stone disease. And that really grew out of some really cool basic science work that was published elsewhere. And I think bringing that kind of information to the JASN audience and then translating into how we think about patients is really been something that I'm really enjoying working on. And I would just ask anybody who has suggestions about new ideas for this series, please reach out to me and suggest them. So that's been really fun.
And Alessia, you come from a background of translating findings from basic science into therapeutic advances. You have been the force behind starting the Innovator Corner. If you could tell the listeners more about it.
I've been excited about promoting an Innovator Corner for JASN, where our entrepreneurial investigators are really were able to close the loop from their discovery science, protecting through a patent, building a start a company and eventually being able to raise funds to bring the science back to the community and really narrowing this bridge that I call over the valley of translational science death that really separate academia from industry. So I've been excited to see great article in this space. It allows the readers of JASN to appreciate how much effort there is to really proactively translate. And I see this also as an opportunity to promote new technology techniques. As you know, the success of basic science is often based on very new technology that we invent and develop. And I hope to see not just innovation in the treatment space for patients, but also in the discovery space by promoting new technology that advances science.
I mean, I think there's never been a more exciting time in my career as a nephrologist in advancing treatments for kidney diseases. It is not simply in diabetic kidney disease, but also in glomerular diseases broadly, and for polycystic kidney diseases. It is our hope in what we are doing collectively advances the ASN's mission of a world without kidney disease.
Yeah, I wanted to add one other comment, Raj, about that. So as somebody who's worked a lot of my career at the bench, I remember when I first started as a fellow many years ago at Yale, and Peter Aronson and others were doing membrane vesicle research, highly basic research. And actually one of his early studies was about glucose transport in the proximal tubule, growing from the great work of Ernie Wright. And all of that went along for 25 years without even the concept that it had anything to do with taking care of patients. And I love these kind of stories where suddenly, through some partly serendipitous observations and some recognition of human monogenic diseases, people ended up developing those insights into drugs, which are now the SGLT2 inhibitors, which are really transforming the way we approach patients with kidney disease. And, coupled with some other new therapies, really do hold the possibility of really reducing or potentially eliminating end-stage kidney disease. And that all started 30 or 40, 50 years ago with basic science discoveries. So I think one of the things that I'm interested in doing, especially with the mechanisms of disease series, is to try and maybe shorten the time span between those kind of basic discoveries and then bringing them into the clinic where they have immediate impact on patients.
And I thank you for saying that. These stories are important to be told for people to understand. It is easy for those of us that live in the world of clinical medicine to think that the work that is happening on the bench is esoteric and not related to advances in clinical care, but that could not be further from the truth. So I'm glad for you to say that. In one of the things that I also want to acknowledge as we are talking about this is that authors have a lot of choices in where they submit their work, which we celebrate when people that are primarily focused on kidney disease-related research have findings that have interest and appeal to the broader general science audience, and authors choose to publish their paper in those general science journals, such as Nature, Cell, JCI, among others. I would think a large part of advances that are coming from the labs of people that are pursuing kidney disease-related research would be of great interest to the members of ASN. And I would hope that authors would consider JASN to be that home for ASN. Has a membership that exceeds over 20,000 people from around the world. And then we use these multimodal opportunities for dissemination of content. So we have a large reach, and I would hope that the authors would take advantage of that. And then maybe I ask the last question of Alessia. Are there basic science articles that we should particularly be interested in 2024?
I really think we are interested to the interest should be broad, no? So we want to really promote our core mechanistic insight, molecular biology, cell biology, in vitro and in vivo studies, but really we have to enter 2025 with an open mind, welcoming all these beautiful dry lab type of research, data-driven, AI-driven, human genetics, genomic phenotype correlation studies. I really see these actually as studies that will take over from a lot of the translational science that we have been done in the past, and we have to face this with an open and proactive mentality, welcoming submission in this space. And so I'm looking forward to see how this will shape the new face of JASN moving forward.
I want to thank David and Alessia for making time to discuss our interest in basic science. I just want to close by saying is that it should not be, people shouldn't believe that JASN is a home for basic science work from selected authors. We welcome the best science from authors at all stages of their career, including early career faculty that are setting up their labs or postdocs that may be working with in more established labs. So we look forward to your submissions and do not hesitate to reach out to us, any one of us, if you have any questions about articles that may or may not be of interest to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This podcast is copyrighted by the American Society of Nephrology. All rights reserved. All content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. This podcast should not be used in a medical emergency or for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition. Please consult your doctor or other qualified healthcare professional if you have any questions about any medical condition or before taking any drug, changing your diet, or commencing or discontinuing any course of treatment. Thank you for listening to this podcast from the American Society of Nephrology.